Hello everybody. This video is going to be kind of just a really informal video. This video is about oracle cards, tarot cards, divination, some just broad things like that. Now, if you're like, "Oh, what's tarot?" You're probably not even watching this video because you generally probably have a good idea of what tarot is or what divination means, but I'm going to kind of give you like the layman's version of what it is to me. Now I have accumulated a lot of card decks. Like I have so many, hold on, let me show you. I have I don't even know how many that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 decks right here. But this is, over the course of the last 2 years, 3 years really, I have kind of accumulated all of these cards randomly in random places at random times. Some of them I was drawn to through books, particularly the I Ching, which is tied to the Tao, which is a Chinese form of divination. If you don't know what that is, you might want to give it a Google. It's very interesting to read about. It's also tied to something called the gene keys, which are tied to our DNA. It's tied to our DNA essentially. Now, if you're I've never heard of the gene keys, give it a Google. You can type, there's a nice website, the person that developed the gene keys, which ties to the I Ching and the Tao and our DNA. You can go there. There's a website. You can type in your birth date and you can figure out what's your soul's purpose, your soul's mission while you're here on this specific timeline. And I just think that's a very cool resource. The person who writes the book, his name is Richard Rudd. Sorry, I was looking. It's over there. It's a very thick book, but a great investment if you can afford that. Otherwise, you can do the free online thing, and that's very informative as well. Now, I also have another deck that I was guided to get from reading a book. This is my James Van Praagh deck. This is my Power of Love deck. These are all about lessons in love. The first one says commitment, respect, evolution, transformation, friendliness, joy, cause and effect. Now, this deck I like to use is what's the lesson that I'm trying to learn this week or this month or this lunar cycle? What is it Spirit really wants me to hone in on? And that's kind of what these cards tell me. And that's also the same for the I Ching. Maybe the lesson is waiting, it's patience, maybe it's sprouting, maybe you've planted some seeds that you're waiting to enjoy the fruits of your labor. It's pushing upward. It could be acceptance of radical change occurring for you in your life. This is kind of why I like these cards. They're very broad centered, but it's very specific once you can get into a zone where you tap into your energy and you can shuffle the cards. And once you really are attuned and aligned, we are energy. The cards are energy. It is just atomically on an atom-based level. Everything is constantly in a state of vibration, whether our eyes can see it or not. So this, everything I'm saying is very scientifically proven. And what you surround yourself with, what your home is surrounded with, is kind of a reflection of how you feel about yourself as well, because it's like feng shui in a form. And again, there's just different modalities of trying to connect to source energy or consciousness energy, and that's what these cards are. That's what tarot is. That's what divination cards are. Oracle cards. That's what all of these things are. These are all different types of oracle cards, essentially. I Ching uses coins primarily. I don't have the coins right now. I know I don't. When I shuffle these I Ching cards, I don't really use it in the traditional aspect. I kind of just go with my intuition and my gut, and I pull a card based on what I'm feeling. I have casted the coins, which is basically tied to your yin and your yang, which is your feminine and masculine energy. And that basically leads to these markings. And that's what those mean. So again, if you want to read about I Ching, I would just go probably watch a YouTube video or just go read a pamphlet about it, because there's a lot of stuff you can find on the internet. Now, the next deck I have is a moon oracle card. I like these cards because they are tied to the lunar cycles, but they have very cool messages on there, hold your vision, look at the bigger picture, a personal issue will reach resolution. And again, the moon cycles are tied to planting seeds of lessons, of growth, of opportunity. So sometimes, it might take us a full year to really learn a lesson or plant a seed. It depends on what kind of seed you're planting. It depends on what you want to grow and what you want to prosper. And the new moon is about planting the seeds, and the full moon is about harvesting or reaping the rewards of those seeds. And it's also tied to the zodiac. So make sure you're, checking your placements and wherever the moon is falling for you in certain zones, because we have just had a new moon in Leo, which is like planting the seeds of like confidence building and growth and opportunity when it comes to all of the things that are Leo in your chart. Now, the full moon that's happening is on the 18th or the 19th, I believe, and that's in Aquarius, which is our humanitarian sign. So that's tied to everything humanitarian, our soul's purpose, our soul's mission, raising the collective energies, just a lot of positive things. So keep the moon in mind, because we typically go by a solar calendar, but our emotions, our subconscious, our energetic body functions by the lunar calendar. So that is significant at this time. I also saw 555 on the clock, so some of you might be experiencing some significant change in your life at this time. And again, make sure you pay attention to angel numbers or synchronicities, because those are another form of divination. It's our subconscious kind of tapping into the 3D realm and trying to assist us on our spiritual journeys. And if you see a lot of synchronistic numbers, it's usually a message from either your guides or from your higher self trying to get your attention, or just a confirmation that you're on the right path. So this deck is an intuition deck, a third eye intuition deck. I like this deck because it, again, kind of has broad-centered things like, what does Spirit want you to work on? Do they want you to do something? Do they want you to practice something? Do they want you to just pay attention to how you're feeling? And things of that nature. Now, this deck is my chakra deck. I like this one. It's just, it has all the chakras, all the different colors of the rainbow, all of the spectrums of color that we are able to see with our eyes. Now, just because we can only see certain things with our eyes does not mean there are not other things out there. Again, this is scientifically proven. So if you're like, oh, this is hokey, go look it up in a book. All right, it's there. I've read all about it. And, there's a lot of things that people don't know because they don't teach you typically in public schools about your chakras or about your electromagnetic body or your, the dielectric fields, the toroidal fields that we all are living walking batteries. And that's just conditioning. So make sure you're doing your due diligence and reading and researching on your own so you can figure out what it is you want to have as your belief system or your value system, because, life experience shifts everyone's values and belief systems. And I'm not one to tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do or believe in. But if you're here watching this video, then you're probably a very open-minded, open-hearted person, and you're curious about divination or mystical abilities. And, when I started to get all of these cards and kind of collect them gradually, I was like, well, what am I doing with these? I'm not really sure. But to me, it was just helping me in a rough spell that I was in, and giving me confirmation that I needed, that I wasn't getting from anyone else, be it therapy, be it a friend, like things people didn't understand where I was coming from because no one had walked in my shoes, which was, fortunate for them, but unfortunate for me, because then it kind of left me like feeling scattered to the wind. Like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, there's no book. My life is not like any book I've ever read where it's this, here's the next step. And with the divination cards and the tarot, it's kind of helped to guide me out of the darkness. In addition to, help from Reiki professionals and, a psychic medium that I use pretty regularly. Like, those people have very much so helped me tap into my own intuitive gifts and my own intuitive abilities. And that's why I have been driven to become a spiritual coach and a guide and a tarot reader and things like that, because those people have helped save me, and there's not very many of them out there. And I have tapped into my own abilities, my clairs, because of the help of the other people who help, lead me out of the darkness, essentially, in ways. Now, reading has also helped me exponentially with all of that, because if it weren't for books, if it weren't for all of the things that I was guided to read, I would not have a great understanding of these cards and what they mean on a really, not even an energetic level, but a theological level, because I don't identify as a very religious person. I don't really, like, I was raised very religiously. And all of these cards tie into some sort of religious form in one way or another. And I know that sounds like a bit contradictory or paradoxical, and it very much so is. And I'm very aware of that. So it's like, if you're like, oh, you're a hypocrite. Okay, whatever. But I think personally that like each parts of religion have very specific messages that are helpful for everyone. And it's, you know, to me, I'm accepting the parts of religion that are accepting of everyone. And that just comes from the grassroots of love, basically. So what part of religion, any religion, can you find the deepest hint or the seed of love? And if that's the part, that's the only part of that thing that I'm going to keep with me and carry and use to implement in my practice of spirituality. Now, the next deck, why I mentioned religion is because of this next deck. This is the Archetypes deck. This is the Kim Krans deck. If you're interested in that, I have a list of all of the decks. I'll probably post that at the end of this video in the comments, just so everybody can see what kind of decks I use. Now, these aren't typically tied to like the archetypes. If you're thinking like a religious Catholic archetypes structure, there's a book called Archetypes by Carolyn Miz. That's a great book to read. And she has a lot of other great books out there as well that kind of tie into like this Catholic sort of traditional mindset. Teresa of Avila, that's a great book to read. I think it's called Glass Castle. If you're going through a spiritual awakening, I highly recommend that, because it ties to these different compartments of enlightenment and awakening. But the archetypes basically are like 22 stages of life that we go through pretty predictably. It's like all of the masks that we can wear when we get into these lives, and it's very eerily accurate, especially if you've read about psychology, if you're familiar with like Freudian concepts or Jungian concepts, or like, you know, how sometimes people will get their types where it's I think it was the Myers-Briggs test, where it's like your INTJ or INFT or whatever those things are, or, you know, even your what's the number one? I can't think of it right now, but even if you're a particular personality, it's basically what the archetypes are. It's kind of a different way of breaking it down in a spiritual way instead of a very scientific Western medicine sort of way. Now, the next deck I have is my Wisdom Oracle deck. This again is kind of broad-centered messages like breathe, by the book, higher power, like leave things up to the creator, round and round, karmic cycles. These are just kind of nice ways to like see like, well, what's happening for me right now? What's going on? What am I going through? And why is this happening? Now, these are more so oracle cards. I get these like at random places, and I think I found this one at like TJ Maxx, and I think I found this one at like TJ Maxx too. And I like that. I was just drawn to them because of the color. I know that sounds superficial, because it is. It's just how most of the decks came to be. Like a lot of them, if I didn't read about them, I just was like, oh my gosh, that's a cute one. Like I like the pink and gold. Like imagine that. So if you feel drawn to a deck when you're out and you're shopping and you're like curious, like totally give into that and you know, read what the different messages are. This one's the Flower of Life. The Flower of Life is a huge impactful thing. There's also like messages about cats. So if you see like maybe you think you have a spirit animal, this message is about time. Like I just love these decks because they're so broad centered, and sometimes it's like I need a specific message and it just comes through for me. But it's also because I'm very attuned into my energetic body. I'm very attuned into these cards because I've used them so much on myself first, and then once you can kind of tap in for yourself and your chakras are aligned, you can really guide other people because you're tuned into their energy. So if you're an empath, you have a leg up essentially on tapping into people's energy. If you're interested in reading tarot cards or oracle cards for people, It's basically a practice. You probably would most likely do it once a day for yourself to just get started, and then eventually, gradually, you maybe like won't lean into that so much anymore, and then you could start doing them for readings for friends or other people, and then kind of get in the rhythm of like identifying what things are. Now, the tarot is it's not a quick thing to describe, so I'm just going to spend a couple minutes on it. I might make a video about tarot cards more specifically, but if I do, it's going to be kind of a long video for that as well. Now, there are 78 cards in this deck, and if you're like, do you have all of those 78 cards memorized? Pretty much. Like it's taken me years of practice, and I have taken a class from another reader on here who, if you're interested, is Soulful Revolution. I like her. I like listening to her. I think she presented tarot in a very practical way that I could easily understand, and her class was worth the purchase. It is a bit of an investment, but I do believe that if you're really interested in becoming a tarot reader, that would probably be the best way to do it. But the tarot cards are tied to the archetypes, which is tied to the 22 main chapters that we all have in our lives. The tarot is also tied to the Jewish traditions of the Kabbalah, and it's also tied to the Torah, which is the first 5 books in the regular Bible. So it's all of these cards are surprisingly very religious, even though a lot of religious people are very, very afraid of all of these things. It kind of makes me chuckle really hard, because once you do your research and once you're not so ignorant about what it is, you really are like, oh, well, if anything, tarot readers are probably a lot more religious than most religious people. Because back in the day, before the church and state were very greedy, religion and spirituality went hand in hand. And nowadays, it's not so much like that anymore, because what pays more? You know what I mean? Fear or love? And at this point, fearing people into compliance and obedience pays more than loving and being open and helping people. So most of the time. I don't want to say all of the time. This is just a broad-centered statement, so don't come at me in the comments like, that's not right. I know it's not right, but we're entering the age of Aquarius, okay? Everything's shifting out of that old mindset into this like new age of rearranging a foundation that was built on sand. And, karma is a sweet thing. People will get what they deserve eventually. And I do feel like with tarot reading and divination, this is my contribution in a small way to help people align with their highest selves. So if you're watching this video still and you're interested in oracle cards or tarot cards, this is generally just a form of divination to help people align with their highest best selves, their highest best timelines, and to tap into this like inner guidance we all have. And sometimes it's hard to see when there's so many distractions with the phones and the music and the people around us or our job and our daily lives. It's hard to really like center ourselves and listen to our inner guidance, unless we're like doing a lot of meditation and a lot of yoga and a lot of those things, which we all don't have the luxury to do at all points in our life. So divination is kind of a quick way to tap into your energy or someone else's energy to help somebody. Now, can people use it for misguided reasons? Sure, absolutely. Do I recommend that? No. I don't think you should tap into anybody's energy who hasn't really given you like permission, which, that's a moral, ethical thing. I do think that's why tarot gets a bad name, or wisdom oracle cards do get a bad name, or people are like, you're a witch, you're evil, you know what I mean? Because people can use it. But typically, I don't find that most people that have access to those higher gifts, over the longevity, they don't use it for ill intention. And the people that do use it for like ill-intentioned reasons, or like they have like a party trick that they know how to do, those are the ones you have to watch out for. I often find those people at like the convention things, those are a little bit sketchy to me, where they're like, I can fix your whole energetic body in 20 minutes. I don't think that is real, but that's my own personal opinion. So, and I don't think any one person is going to be able to fix you besides you. And that's what tarot is to me. It's like, how can I help myself be better? What else do I need to work on that I'm not seeing? And it's basically like the subconscious energy that comes through when I'm shuffling the cards, when I'm in this like meditative zone where I'm like, okay, well, please Spirit, like help me see what it is I need to see. The Justice card came out. Like, karma's on my side here. Justice is coming my way because I've put out good karma and I'm a good person. I do good things with the intention of being kind, not because I'm afraid. Like, if I don't do good things, I'm going to go to hell. No, that's not why I do it. I do it because like that's how I would want to be treated. Again, you know, not being a very religious person, I'm very aware of like the golden rule. Like, I very much so live by that and treat people how I want to be treated. And that's not always received well. It's just not. So anyways, thank you for watching. Hopefully this video helped. Yeah, if you want to learn more about tarot or oracle cards or things like that, feel free to reach out. Or if you're interested in a life coaching session, I can do that as well. You know, I can kind of do, I tap into a lot of different things. So I'm an intuitive reader. I'm also like a baby psychic. I have a little bit of those abilities, and I can tap into your energy if you would like me to. I can also just do an oracle reading or a tarot reading for you if you're interested in that, or if you're interested in learning about tarot, you can reach out to me as well, and I can teach you that too. Totally up to you. But yeah, if this video helped, please again hit the like button, comment, subscribe. It helps my channel grow, and I really appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. Just thank you for watching this video. I really do hope it helped. And if you've been, you know, on the fence about getting oracle cards or tarot cards, I would say make sure you cleanse them. Okay, make sure you're cleansing them with sage. You know, sometimes I do like a sage mist in the air. Sometimes I just put a crystal on top. Like for my regular cards, I just use this clear quartz crystal. I put this on top of my deck after I'm done with it every time, just to keep and protect the energy. This is just an amethyst crystal, and I put this usually on top of my moon deck, which are like the most common decks that I use. But you know, once every couple months, or if I'm giving like a very specific energy reading, I will cleanse the cards and kind of go through them and make sure that there's no negative energy tied to it. And I also do that before my readings, where I cleanse my energy, and then I get into like a meditative zone, and I have the shuffle routine that I like to do, and it just really helps me keep the cards cleansed and myself cleansed of any energy that I don't want to carry, because as an empath, we are constantly picking up on other people's energy fields, and sometimes that means that their shadows do attach to us, because it's like a moth to a flame, kind of think of it like that. It's like if you're a very high energetic light being, the dark things might want to latch on, and sage is a great way to cleanse things, and crystals are another way to cleanse and ward off any negative energy as well. But I'll probably do a video about crystals here soon too, so make sure you check that out. But thank you so much for watching.